What's going on, Doug?
Oh, tough day. I just played 18 this morning. And because I played 18 yesterday, so I'm exhausted, to be quite honest. But appreciate the invite. I don't know if am I hooked on all right here? I got to hide I have to hide certain areas because Jill doesn't want me to show the pillows in the bedroom here.
You deserve it. I was going to say you deserve it. Hope you're enjoying it out there. And great of you to join us. Obviously, a big game here, the Leafs and the Panthers after what happened last night with the Panthers. What's your read on this one tonight at Scotiabank Arena?
Well, look, it's a great test. I mean, the Leafs have been playing well lately. I mean, they come off a stinker in San Jose where they were. I thought they looked pathetic, and then all of a sudden they come back. Look, they played LA. LA's a heck of a team right now, guys, and I like the way they played. I think they're in pretty good shape, going into the playoffs. I think it's critical to get that first spot. Do you want to play Ottawa? I don't know. Who do you want to play? Florida, Tampa, Ottawa. I mean, they're all pretty good teams right now, but I think I'd take my chances with Ottawa.
Yeah, I think that being said, I'm with you there, right? And I won't judge your pillows because I'm in my kids' room, so I got all sorts. I got Pokemon pillows beside me too. So
So what do you make your kids study maps or what?
Well, I don't know. This is
geography.
I think I decorated in here, Doug. This isn't me. I just do as I'm told, just like with your wife. So I love this team. I guess maybe I just hope I'm so optimistic.
Just a minute. You love which team? Toronto?
Toronto. I love Craig Berube. I think where they're at and, just kind of building toward it, their back end, their goaltending. But is this team good enough, do you think, to beat Florida in a 7-game series? That's my only concern.
You know what? That's going to be the test. I mean, today they can beat Florida, in my opinion. I think Tkachuk is a big X factor. I'm hearing his groin is not very good. So that's going to be very interesting. Is he going to be ready to go full out in the first round? I mean, Heiskanen's out in Dallas till at least the second round. What's Tkachuk's situation going to be? And as I mentioned, somebody told me this morning, it's not great right now. So we'll see. Bobrovsky's another, this guy can win a series himself the way he was last year. Here's Toronto. I'm with you. I like the way they're set up. Finally, after 5 years, they have a chance to have a good third line. I know Lachlan, the kid hasn't been good from Philly, but I think it's the makings of a decent third line. And their fourth line's not bad. To me, their 1-2 on the back end is not a 1-2 on the back end. I love Tanev. I love the way that pair, McKay, but they're not, to me, they're a 3-4 is what they are. And then you got Carlo and Riley with Riley's year. You're a little nervous there, and then you go down to the 5-6. So I'm a little nervous about the lack of that big horse on the back end, which you guys know as well as I do is the absolute most critical thing at playoff time, is that big guy on the back end or a team that's going to win a Stanley Cup. So we'll see how they fare with that.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is the big boys. We have this conversation every spring, and I said it going into today's show. Austin Matthews has to grab this game by the balls. Like, you need Marner, You need Matthews. I think this is the time to prove that you're different this year, right?
Yeah, and is this the game? Well, yeah, it's a bit of a statement game going into the playoffs. They've been good lately, this group, but the pressure on them is over the top. And it's pressure on the entire organization, guys. If they lose in the first round, I don't care how much you love Berube, Tree Living, Shanahan. It might rattle a lot of people if they lose in the first round. So there's a lot of jobs on the line here, in my opinion, a lot. Not only the big four up front, who have never got it done really at playoff time, and they're good enough to get it done, but will they? That's a lot of pressure on those guys. We know they're capable of it, but will they when they're going head-to-head with, like, you guys know what it's like at playoff time, guys. It goes up 25%, the intensity and the battles. And can they join the crowd? Can they do it? And talent's there to do it. The will has got to be there too.
Yeah, I think rightfully so, right? It's got to the point where expectations, and you look around, you look at Boston, Tampa, and Florida, all these teams that have had this success, and Toronto's just sitting here stale. And, you've been around the game for so long as a GM. Like in my playing days, I guess I was never really worried about where we were slotted come playoff time. You're just in the moment playing. Do you think that has an effect on this team? Like, as your GM, like, do you want to win this division and get away from going to Florida in the first round?
You want to finish first if possible, because that signifies you've had a marvelous regular season. If you win first in this conference, in this division, you've had a heck of a season. You really have, and full marks for that. But you're right; it doesn't matter. You go into the playoffs, and it's always tougher going into the playoffs where the skill guys, the grinders and the secondary guys go to a whole nother level in the playoffs. The big guys, the whole strategy going against the Leafs is to shut the big boys down. Can they shut down two good lines? That's the question. McMahon has really changed the second line, in my opinion. I'd love to see him on the third line, but I love what he's done, and I love the first two lines. So Nyes and McMahon have changed the complexion and the look of this team, in my opinion. So, and that should help the big boys. We'll see.
John Tavares, a big story in the month of March, 13 goals in 15 games, and he's found sort of another foot this year, which I did not expect. How impressed have you been with his game, and has your opinion changed on what his outlook should be long-term with this organization?
Yeah, look, the long term for the organization is going to be judged on the playoffs. And because, guys, if they fold the tent, they're going to have to make some big changes. And John would probably be the logic. We don't know where Marner's going to be, what's going to happen with him. Probably will test free agency. But Tavares is a very good player. He's had an amazing career. He's always been a good player. He's a pro. I liked lots of things about JT. I thought the wheels would fall off. And he's battled through that. Nylander helps. There's no denying that with him. And McMahon helps because they bring speed and skill. And that helps JT. So you got to be careful to go buy good players, guys. They're hard to find. And I know dollars become a critical part of that whole process, but you've got to be careful when you make a decision to go buy good players. It's not easy. We saw Colorado go buy Rantanen. McKinnon's picked it up there. To me, they look like a very good team right now, maybe the best in the league. We'll see.
Got a question in the chat, and you talked about it a bit there. Would you re-sign Mitch Marner? What's your read on that situation?
Well, if he's the best player in the playoffs, yeah, you're going to sign him. If he goes goalless, then it's a big question mark. But again, where are the Leafs without Mitch Marner in the regular season? Where are they without? We know Matthews is going to be there. Where are they without John Tavares in the regular season? Who are you going to sign in the offseason that makes up for a Marner? That's what I mean. It's so hard to get good players. Yeah, you draft great players coming out of junior, but how many of them ever become Mitch Marner, John Tavares? A lot of them don't, and you've got to be careful. And it's going to be a big question for Treeler. But he's going to have to change the makeup of the team.
Yeah, and again,
if they don't win.
Yes. Again, I feel like this season has been a formality, right? It's been like whether they were the second wild card team or first in the division, this team is going to be judged on how they do in the playoffs, right? With that being said, I feel like that's why Craig Berube was brought in here. They had Sheldon Keefe. He kind of didn't really run the room, and they got to do what they want. What do you think of Craig Berube's job so far? And you think this is going to translate to more of a grind style come playoff time to get through this Atlantic and the Eastern Conference?
It's sort of fluctuated up and down with me on the job Craig's done. I mean, lots of times during the season, I questioned the job he was doing, and is he the right guy for the talent? Is he the right guy? We know he's the right guy. He might be a great coach with the Florida Panthers with the way they play. Can he get these guys to perform at playoff time? He did a great job in St. Louis. When you win a Stanley Cup, you're right at the top of the coaching charts for me. I think he's done a great job recently. I question him a lot during the regular season. So we'll see how playoffs is going to be a real test of how he is as a strategy guy. You don't need that as much in the regular season, but in the playoffs, when you go game to game, you've got to be a strategist. Your power play, there's a sputtered up and down, better lately. The coaching becomes, in my opinion, very, very important with matchups, who you want to play against who you want to play your D pair against. That's where coaching really comes to the forefront, and getting your big guys away from the pressure they're going to get if they play a Panthers or a Hedman and a McDonough and those types of guys. So I'm anxious to watch them in that thing, but there's no denying, Craig, hey, they're in first place. What do you say? The guy's a genius today.
Yeah, you really can't say much. And I think that's an excellent point, because oftentimes in the Stanley Cup playoffs, that's what I feel puts teams over the top, is coaching. And unfortunately, Sheldon Keefe is a guy who from that aspect really, really failed when it came to the Stanley Cup playoffs. But another thing, I think decision-making time in the postseason is going to be very interesting when it comes to the crease and how you play that crease. I think we can all agree in this conversation, we're likely going to see Stolarz and Wall together in the same series. But how would you handle the crease over the next 8 games here, Doug?
I thought Wall looked really small, and your co-host knows a lot more about goaltending than I do, but I thought Wall looked really small in those in the San Jose game and a couple of games. I didn't like the way he looked recently. I think Stolarz is the guy right now, and can he get it done? That's a big question, guys. He's going head-to-head with Vasilevsky or Ullmark or Bobrovsky. That's a big test for a goaltender that's never really had to carry the ball this time of year. So to me, that's one of the major question marks. And I know they've had great seasons, and it's the best goaltending the Leafs have had in a long time. But playoffs are a different story.
That's right. And I'm with you there. And I do feel the same way about Stolarz, but this is another animal, right? Being able to be the guy come playoff time. And again, what I think the plan should be here is a short leash, right? I think Joseph Wall hasn't been the better goalie as of late, but I do still like his upside and his ceiling. And what I've seen from him in the past is his mental capacity to manage these big moments, right? He's been in a lot of games, and it's been him getting injured has always been like the killer. So that being said, a short leash, Doug, obviously, I think going into this, you just have to be optimistic. At least they have 2 options in a series where, they're going to be in a dogfight.
And you know what? In the playoffs, short leashes, you don't want to be changing goaltenders. That's a sign that you're in trouble. And you want your guy to start and you want him to finish. That's what Bobrovsky and that's what Vasilevsky are going to do. And that's what Ullmark has to do in Ottawa if they happen to play them. So you really, if Stolarz is going to be the guy, you can't go in there thinking, well, if he's not good enough, we may have to go with Wall, and maybe it's too late. That's the only thing that concerns me. So, I mean, look, Stolarz has had a great year. I love the way he looks in the net. I don't know anything about goaltending, but I knew enough when I was a coach to play Van Beesbrook over Mark Fitzpatrick. I knew enough to do that.
Good call.
and he made me some money, Beezer. So it's hard. I know it's a lifetime ago, but he was at 5'7". So you know what? It's the goaltending is going to be a question mark. The matchup on the blue lines is going to be a question mark. And can the big boys come through? Like I said, the bottom of their lineup, I think, has a chance to be difficult to play against. I'm hoping that's what and I'm sure Craig is hoping that too, that the 3rd and 4th line are going to be battlers, and that's what you need.
Doug, I need a prediction. Come the Stanley Cup playoffs, where do you see this Maple Leafs team going?
Well, I said on Kipper's show the other day that I have a solution for it. We're in the middle of a tariff war here. Canada owns the Stanley Cup. Put an unbelievable tariff on the Stanley Cup so that they can't afford to take it to the States, and maybe the Leafs will have a chance to win it this year. Maybe. Other than that, I'm nervous.
There's so many good teams, and I think it's wide open in the Eastern Conference. Yeah.
I was in Vegas a month or so ago, and I spent quite a bit of time with George McPhee, and George said to me, Doug, I really think there's 11 teams that can win the Stanley Cup right now.
Yep.
And this is George, who's on top, who's watched a lot more hockey than I have this year, and he really believes there's that many good teams, and you see it in the standings. So, you know what it's like. You get on a run, you get confidence. I think the Panthers are a little out of sync right now. I really do. And, they're not as good in the back end. I mean, Ekblad played pretty well for them in the playoffs. He battled like crazy. Montour was really good last year. They're not as good on the back end, in my opinion. I know Jones has come in and they're playing he's playing 27 minutes a game. I don't think he should be doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure the Panthers are hitting on all cylinders like they were this time last year.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Roseau. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.